My biggest piece of advice is don't be afraid to fail. And I think people, they know this, they hear this, but they don't understand it, right? I have people close to me who wish to start businesses and they're like, well, what if I lose money, right? What if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? I'm like, it's not going to work out. But each time it doesn't work out, it's a learning experience, right?
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the channel. Today, we have a very special interview and a very special guest. We have Erick Rodriguez from the Philippines. Erick, how are you doing today, man?
Hello, everyone. My name's Eric from Manila, Philippines. I'm doing pretty good. We've been in lockdown over here on my side of the world for a few months, but I am learning to work from home.
All right, and so I'm super excited to have Erick on today. As you guys saw in the title of the video, this is going to be about Erick's story deciding to walk away from an offer with Google to go and pursue entrepreneurship. Now, this is also kind of a cool story because it gives a little bit of an indication and a little bit of my backstory, how I got pulled into this crazy world of working remote and entrepreneurship. Now, Erick, we're going to get to talk today about how, not only about how you walked away from this offer at Google, but about how you've gotten to the point now where you've sold, 3 large businesses. You've done a lot of stuff, but I want to start where at the very, very beginning, you didn't start off selling these huge products. What was your first kind of exposure to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, good question. I didn't come from an entrepreneur family. Let me begin by saying that. My mom was an interior decorator. My father was a court translator. I had the luck of good friends who influenced me. I had a friend, Kyle, who at the age of 13 years old, he exposed me to eBay, that he was making money on eBay. So I tried it for myself, and I began to buy from neighborhood kids popular Yu-Gi-Oh trading cards, and I would resell them on eBay. And I did well for myself. I was making 5,000 a month when I was 13 years old, and that's how it started.
Okay, so you're 13 years old, you figured out, hey, I can resell Yu-Gi-Oh trading cards, but that wasn't like your big product hit, right? There's something after that. Tell us a little bit about your winning product while you were still young.
Yeah. So when I got to 16 years old, roughly, I bought an iPhone 3, right? Should I have bought it? That's debatable, right? Got peer pressure by social pressure to buy one, and it came with a used OtterBox iPhone case, and I wasn't really a cell phone case, let alone a bulky cell phone case kind of person at the time. So I put it up on eBay, and it sold for $25. And to me, this was like light bulb moment opportunity, right? Something I didn't think would have value sold, and sold for a good price. So I then looked for used, refurbished suppliers of OtterBox cases, and sure enough, I did find the provider who refurbishes the cases that are all the warranty callbacks for OtterBox. I would source from them, and I would sell on eBay, and very quickly I was making in excess of 20 a month, thousand on eBay.
Shoot. Okay. So another, just crazy again. So you're selling these refurbished OtterBox phone cases. For those people who might not remember, super expensive phone cases. So you got them refurbished by the manufacturer, and you're able to resell them on eBay, and that's kind of the light bulb moment. So it sounds like you had some success selling this product. You made a little bit of money. What kind of happened next after that?
I think it was maybe like 17. I was 17 when I had saved up a good bit of cash at that point, and I was in high school, and everyone was buying a car, and I wanted to be cool, and I wanted to get a Chevy Camaro. And my mom, she influenced me out of it, and she said, "Why not buy a house?" And so she helped in lining up a inexpensive house, and I bought one for about 24,000 USD, 25,000 USD. Then I had to put in another 40,000 renovations, but it was okay. It ended up being a very good purchase.
The thing I want to talk about next, so you don't go full force into entrepreneurship at this point, right? You go off. Tell us about what happens after that, because you take a little bit of a break and you go to the University of Florida. What are your goals kind of when you're going off to college?
Yeah, and so fast forward to, I was like 18, 19. I was entering college. I got into University of Florida. I wasn't always the, I was a good student. I wasn't great by any measure. I got into University of Florida, and when I entered, everyone wanted to work for one of two companies. They wanted to work for either Google or Disney, and Disney for me was not a pick. It was not me, and so I was like, Google. after looking into it, I was like, this is really interesting. And so I set on a mission to land an internship for Google when I entered college.
Gotcha. So you're at UF. You either you know you want to do something. The biggest things at these point is to either you can do Facebook, or you can do Disney rather, or you can do Google. And you're like, Disney's not for me. You want to go and shoot for Google. What did you kind of have any conflict along the way?
Yeah, so just to give some context, right? So it was freshman year of college, and I walked into the dean's office, assistant dean's office, and I said, "Hey, look, this is what I want to do. I want to go work for Google. Any tips or guidelines on how I can accomplish that?" And he kind of gave me a little bit of a laugh and was inadvertently kind of was like, you and me and everyone would love to work for Google. It's not that easy, right? And I walked away, and I thought to myself, well, he doesn't know who he's talking to. And for the next 2 years, I worked really hard in connecting myself with as many UF alumni as possible who had landed jobs at Google. And so I would connect with complete strangers over LinkedIn. And that's how I was incredibly well prepared when I applied to Google. And I did end up landing the internship.
Why not just go and take a full-time offer with Google and then keep the entrepreneurship, this e-commerce stuff? Why not keep that going on the side?
Yeah. And what I'll say is, I think the most difficult obstacle someone can have who's trying to pursue an unusual career path or take risk or be an entrepreneur is to have high opportunity cost, right? So to have a job offer from a leading technology company or leading company, it's probably one of the biggest obstacles that can be between you, right? But for me, I realized I was young, that if there was a time to take risk, it would be now. The longer I would work for them, the more they would pay me, the more equity, and the harder it would be for me to leave, right? The cost would increase. And not to mention e-commerce was taking off at the time, and I really didn't want to miss the train ride.
And so I do want to backpedal just for a minute because I want to talk about a conference that was, I know, a huge impact for you, and definitely a lot of fun for me. So when I remember when we were in college, I remember this well because I was skipping class as per the usual. I was out in Arizona and I get a call from you and you're saying, "Hey, Tony, come down and come to the event." And so I said no at first because I had an accounting exam, but I ended up skipping the exam and going to the event, and we had a blast. Now, the thing that I want to emphasize about this event is we brought down, I don't know, how many kids would you say from UF came to that event? Like, I don't know, maybe like 15 kids almost. And, we
Correct.
all,
Yeah.
the conference was all about how it was right at the real kind of peak, not the peak, but it was really on the up of e-commerce. And we all got that same information. They were supposed to teach you how to, source products from China, sell them on Amazon, and make a lot of money. And what I always think is super interesting about that event is that all of us went and got that same information. We all got that same opportunity. We all went for free. And you were the only person that I think really probably executed with any of that information and really went to go make the e-commerce stuff happen. But is there anything at that event, like meeting other people or seeing other people in the space, that kind of gave you that confidence to think, hey, there might actually be a way to make money doing e-commerce full time?
And before we even jump to that, right? The timing of when that happened, right? I had just finished up my internship at Google, and I was still running Entrepreneurship Club and interested in Amazon. I contacted one of the co-organizers of this conference, and we managed to get 10 tickets, right? If that one single event didn't happen, right, I would not be doing what I'm doing today. And I think simply by being someone, my biggest advice for anyone is when you're given good opportunities, say yes. Just like how Tony moved around other obstacles, right? He chose to do what would have bettered his future in the long run, right? And we went to the event. Yes, being in the position I was back then, running Entrepreneurship Club, I would see entrepreneurs all day long. And I think the moment I realized that I could do this was after we had, talked to 20 plus entrepreneurs who had really, really made it. I realized these folks are just average folks. Many of them haven't even completed bachelor or 4-year degrees. Many of them don't have strong academic background or speak as fluently or intelligently as maybe one of us. And they've crushed it just because they were very driven. And when they saw an opportunity, they went after it. And so when I saw the opportunity of Amazon and e-commerce, I went after it.
Gotcha. So it's a little bit of like you saw other people doing it and you're like, hey, if all of these other people are able to do this and actually make a real living and do it, I feel like I'm at least as smart. I feel like I'm at least as charming. I can go and do the exact same thing. And so that's what you do. Tell us about that first year, right? So you've decided, hey, I'm not gonna do this job offer at Google. I'm gonna take a little bit of a risk here. I'm gonna kind of jump out into the unknown. If worst comes to worst, I can always go back and get a job. What was that first year like?
When you first begin, it's always tough, right? I mean, I think I was reading a statistic the other day. Michael Jordan has taken 900 game-winning shots and has made about 137 of them. But people only remember that 137 game-winning shots that he's actually made, not the 700 plus that he didn't make. And I think sometimes people have an unrealistic expectation that with their first try to win, they're going to make it and become a millionaire. And that's just not the case, right? Let alone when you're beginning and you're not experienced, right? So same with basketball. When I first began, I had my, I had my savings. I think I probably saved up in excess of 100,000 USD, but uh, liquid. But I didn't really need that. I only allocated maybe an initial 20,000 nest egg. And out of 5 products I launched, 3 failed, 1 broke even, wasn't worth reordering, and then 1 was doing well. It was making like 200 plus profit, gross profit monthly. Daily, $200 gross profit daily. And I was like, okay, that's 6,000 a month gross profit. That right there, that's that can supplement me quite well. And so that was the beginning. And from there, it was just improving the batting average, launching more products. And once I had that initial taste, I wasn't going to give up. My biggest piece of advice is don't be afraid to fail. And I think people, they know this, they hear this, but they don't understand it, right? Uh, I have people close to me who wish to start businesses, and they're like, well, what if I lose money, right? What if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? I'm like, it's not going to work out. But each time it doesn't work out, it's a learning experience, right?
No, I totally agree. I think it's super important, right? I think one of my favorite quotes is, if you knew that you couldn't fail, what would you go and try to accomplish, right? If you knew there's no possibility of failing. I think it's probably an interesting segue, and we'll wrap up here in just a couple of minutes because I know you have a hard stop. But it's kind of interesting that you say that, right? Because so you've got Erick's background. Erick was, an entrepreneurship from a super young age, from selling Yu-Gi-Oh cards, having some good success selling OtterBox phone cases. Me, on the other hand, I had always kind of, I hadn't had as much exposure and background until I had started to see the different things related to Entrepreneurship Club. And so how I actually ended up out in the Philippines is because Erick one day gives me a call and suggests, hey, why don't you come and move out to the Philippines and come help me scale this business, Virtuous Graphics, which was a creative studio. And at the time, I definitely didn't have the cash, nor did I have the confidence to go and launch my own Amazon business or anything related to entrepreneurship. I was very nervous. And so I thought, hey, the only way that I'm going to be able to move up and get into this world is if I go work as an entrepreneur, someone who's going to take an existing business and go and work with it. Now, again, I want to jump in because I think this is a good story and I think the audience will like to hear it. You've had some success with e-commerce. How in the heck did you end up with a graphic photography creative studio? How did that even happen? Are you a photographer?
One of the best things you can do is to say yes to opportunities and and just have an open mind, right? So probably a year into running my personal import export Amazon business, e-commerce business, I started to build out a team in the Philippines to do my creative work, copy, writing, photography, video, design work, and we were good at it. My friends would ask to use my team. I would upcharge their rates, and they were really pleased with the output. And so we created a company called Virtuous Graphics that would then be a leading creative agency for photo, video, copywriting for Amazon sellers, right?
Gotcha. And so that's kind of, so Eric, wanted to focus on his e-commerce business. He had this creative studio that just kind of started as a need for himself and then kind of grew out of that. And so I want to get to the point now because we'll wrap up in just a couple minutes, but you've got the e-commerce business, it's doing well. At some point you end up selling one, you sell another, you get a product into Walmart, and then end up selling Virtuous Graphics, this creative studio. So after just a few years out there, I guess the biggest question would be, number one, do you think you made the right decision? And number two, after 3 exits at this point, a few years out living on the other side of the world, yeah, do you think it's worth it? And what's kind of next?
You have to have a really open mind, right? And I think if I had asked myself when I was in college if I'd be living across the world, if I would have started a creative agency or doing import export or doing any of the things I'm doing today, I would not have believed myself, right? uh, Again, I go back to have confidence in oneself, find good mentors, follow in the footprints of people who have already done it, and be optimistic in one's ability, right? Don't be afraid to fail.
I guess really the big question I would have, Eric, is, at this point, do you feel like you've made it? If most people watching this would be like, you're living in the Philippines, cost of living is low. You've accomplished a lot. You're only 26 years old at this point. Why, like, what's the motivation to keep working? What's the end goal?
It's a good question, right? Initially, when I was starting off, right, as many folks would, you're driven by money, right? And then I think when you hit a certain threshold where reasonably you can only spend so much, right, before you're just being ridiculous, after you hit that threshold, you need to change your priorities as far as what motivates you. And so I went back to my focus of I'm a builder, I'm a creator of businesses and companies, and that's why I enjoy, right? I enjoy business. It's like a game to me. It's a video game to me where orders and products and revenues just points on a video game, and it's just I'm building something. And when people transact a dollar for products or services, it's because they value them, right? And as a capitalist, for me, it's a reflection of the amount of value I create for the economy or the world or the consumer market, right?
Gotcha. And I'd say, what have you been up to since, I know, we built Virtuous Graphics. We got to travel around the world. We built that to a 25 plus person team. We exited that back in September. What do you do to relax? Like, well, I think you've got a pretty cool story. Like, what do you do to enjoy yourself and kind of take a break after working? Any advice for, working and things like that?
One thing I'll say, right? Some quick background context, right? When I was starting off, probably up until 17 years old or 18 years old, I think probably even until 20 years old, right? If someone had asked me, like my best kept secret as far as accomplishing the things that I would accomplish would be staying focused and staying out of relationships, right? I think you want to minimize the number of time commitments and mental commitments to what you need to accomplish. And once you get to a place where you're content, then you can then take on extra commitments, right? Whether it's, relationships or animals or other things to look after, right? Or hobbies or expensive hobbies, right? But anyway, fast forward to present day, I can chill to a higher proportion than hustle, right? Uh, Pre-COVID, if you had asked me, I would say that every 3 months, I'd love to take a trip with friends, right? To take trips with Tony and others, where even if it's for a couple days, it's a great way to recharge, right? To recharge button. And some entrepreneur friends I have who just work, and they don't take breaks. It's like a treadmill running at 70% speed all the time versus if I take breaks for 3% of the time, my treadmill can run at 100% every other moment, right? So breaks serve a purpose. They're important.
Gotcha. Well, guys, we'll wrap it up there. I think a few really big takeaways from the talk today. Eric, thank you so much for coming on. Number one, guys, take breaks. You might watch Elon Musk and he's going 100-hour weeks for long amounts of time, but for most people, you can do it in short amount. But it's it's usually not sustainable. Another real big one that that I got out of this, Eric, is, the difference between an intrapreneur and an entrepreneur. So an entrepreneur, you're kind of starting something from scratch. An intrapreneur is you're going into an existing organization, but you have a lot of ownership. You're able to make a big impact, and you're running it almost as if you're running the business yourself or with the help of someone else. That was kind of my background of how I got into entrepreneurship, and it helps you build up some cash, build up some experience, and really get your hands dirty. The third one that I think is probably the biggest takeaway is, guys, don't be afraid to fail. Even though Eric has been at this point, he's had a lot of successes. I have seen it firsthand. And he would tell you the same thing, that there's been a lot of failures on the way. And that's how you figure out what you're good at. That's how you can refine on your skill set. With that being said, guys, if you enjoyed the video, please let us know down in the comments below. If you want to have Eric on, maybe we can do another segment or whatever. Let us know. Just let us know your thoughts and your feedback. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it. And this is the first of many interviews to come. Thanks so much, guys. Eric, thanks so much for having me, man. And it's been great.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. I want to encourage you to go and check out our digital marketing playlist. There's a bunch of videos that have a ton of information and good insights on the world of digital marketing. Go and check it out.